How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's go over the books I read this week, starting over in Marvel with Ultimate X-Men issue number 1 from Peach Momoko. This book is very, very different than any other X-Men book you will ever see, but in a good way, I think, because it continues to build on this character that probably not a whole lot of people know, which is Armor, and we get to see a lot of cool like Japanese culture and this new origin story for this character in a way. She's a schoolgirl. She's going around right now, living her life. She's being picked on. She's actually reminiscing on a past friend who is no longer with her, and she's really sad about this, of course, because it's a real tragic story. I'll let you read what that is inside of here. She's actually haunted by this mysterious, like, demon-looking character, and there's some theories out there about who this demon character might be, but this demon character is actually kind of out to get her right now and messing with her emotions and stuff like that. And she actually gets rescued by this armor charm that she has right now. And she's trying to learn how to control it. It's kind of impulsive at this moment, but there's some really cool scenes in here where that character just like jumps out and just takes care of business. Man, I hate Marvel books with all these freaking ads, but you can see exactly what you're getting into right there. There's some mystery still. There's a lot of questions we still have about who exactly everybody is and this origin and how it's going to play into the larger Ultimate universe that we have right now, but still a solid issue, not as exciting and as impactful as like Spiderman and Black Panther and Ultimate Invasion or whatever else, but it's really cool in its own way. If you're in the Peach Momoko, it's a must get. If you're into this Ultimate universe, it might spin up into something really exciting, but for now, it's really good. It's not the best. Then we have Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 1. This little team up between Peter Parker and Miles Morales. I'll say the art is really cool, but, you know, this thing kind of suffers from direction and just kind of purpose, I think. It is cool to see these two people teaming up. They have a lot in common, obviously. They're trying to get together and trying to hash out some of their personal life drama with each other, trying to be non-Spider-Men, trying to live a normal life, go to a coffee shop, have some fun. Inevitably, some kind of villain pops up and starts wrecking shop, and they have to team up to take this person out. And that's basically what we have here. So a lot of cool little collaboration moments and web slinging and, you know, interesting uses of powers, things like that. But at the end of the day, I didn't really see the point of this book, to be honest with you, besides just a way to sell another number 1 and throw Miles into another book. He definitely needs a better spotlight than he's been getting right now. Spider-Man, not great. All right, next we have What If Aliens issue number 1. What if Carter Burke survived, right? That's basically what's going on in here. We do touch base on some of the movie scenes when all shit hits the fan and people are starting to realize what the ultimate purpose was, trying to bring some of these aliens or a pod or whoever back to Earth so they can study it for whatever reasons. And we see a lot of the scenes from the movie play out in here, but there's one key moment that changes and then it sends us down to a whole different path. So there was a moment in here where we started getting a little bit of a character redemption arc in a way, trying to tell the man just basically to screw himself and everything went sideways and he's not ready to like completely betray the staff and crew and all the soldiers that he's met in this situation. We do get a little bit of a time jump in here too. He's living his days right now in this other planet, and he actually has a opportunity here to kind of pick up where he left off previously, and looks like he's going to take full advantage of that. Now, if you're a huge Alien fan and you're all in on this character and you're all in on this premise and you want to see a what if in this universe, then probably pick this up. But if you're a casual fan, you've watched Aliens a couple times, you barely remember who this character is, probably a skip. It's not really that important, to be honest with you. It is cool to see these what if issues, but I don't think I care about the what if that this book is centered around. What if this particular character survived? I don't think I care about it that much, but let me know what you guys think down below. Miss Marvel Mutant Menace issue number 1. I got this one because Aman Vellani is the co-writer on top of this, and I really like what she's done. I'm glad she has a voice in the comics as well. I really enjoyed her characters in the Marvels. It was probably the best thing about that movie. The show was okay. It started really strong, then it ended really weak in my opinion, but here we are with a Mutant Menace Miss Marvel comic. And so what I think about this one, I would say it's more of the same about what we've had so far in these Miss Marvel books. She's attending school right now. She's keeping her identity under wraps because being a mutant or being superpowered is still illegal, and there's still Sentinels flying around trying to take people out. This one explores a lot more of the drama at school and her having to suppress her powers and do things on the down low, and then teaming up with the X-Men whenever she can that are down below in the sewers trying to do whatever they need to do to retaliate against this big oppressive threat. And so she's walking around basically all covered up, and she has moments in here where she steps up and takes care of business, but there's a lot more about like her friendship politics and the politics in the neighborhood good and things like that, who's really on the side of the mutants and who's not. There's some really big charming moments inside this book, which I think it's its saving grace. The villains and things like that pop up are really corny. I don't really care about them, but I would say like the conversations feel genuine. The cultural impact of the superheroes being oppressed is impactful, and I like the position that she's in, trying to like, she wants to do good, she wants to do better for her community and her family and everything, but she has to work through all this drama and all this red tape first. So that's really interesting. I will also say the ending I didn't really care about, to be honest with you. It's like a fun, charming book, but it's not like an exciting book. It's not something that I would typically read and enjoy. A lot of people will, though, and I recommend checking it out at least to see if you're one of those people. Miss Marvel Mutant Menace, let me know what you thought. All right, let's jump over to DC, where we have a few Batman books. Who would have guessed, right? So we have Batman proper right here. We have 145 from Chip Zdarsky coming out of the Joker year one. 2 or 3 issues that we had to deal with to figure out why the Joker is the way he is. I don't really care. He's a crazy dude. Let's just leave it at that. Where are we right now, though? Bruce is locked up with the Joker at this moment. A lot of identities have been revealed at this point. Zur-En-Arrh is wrecking shop. He's taking over Gotham. He's imprisoned both of our heroes and anti-heroes right now, and he's really embracing the persona of Batman and Bruce Wayne in here. So I don't know how much spoiler I want to get into this. We have Zur-En-Arrh coming back, and we also have Failsafe. Now, Zur-En-Arrh is a persona of Batman and Bruce Wayne that was developed a long time ago in another run. It's been out right now, and Failsafe was a way of counteracting Batman in case he ever went crazy. And so both of these things exist now in our Gotham, and the melding of those two things is now the new Batman inside of Gotham City, and now it's interacting with the Bat family and really taking justice to the next step, like tapping into people's phones and their screens and telling them like, I'm not going to put up with this crap anymore. This is a new era. He's wrapping up all these cases super quick, and the Bat family's engaged too. And so he's approaching all those people saying, this is the real me. This is the real me. You can trust me. Things like that. I love all this stuff right here. I love the idea of this ultimate version of Batman, or whatever Zur-En-Arrh and Failsafe think is the ultimate version. I like that rising up and the Bat family kind of reacting to it. I think that's brilliant. I love everything about it. The artwork is great, of course, because we have Jorge Jimenez on this, and I'm just eating it up. I really want more of this kind of stuff inside the comics. I really didn't care for the Joker arc, to be honest with you, but this has been pretty intriguing so far. Of course, Batman's going to snap out of it and come back into the scene and take things over, and I'm sure Chip Zdarsky is going to blow a lot of people's minds on how he's able to do that, because this arc has been just over the top to begin with. But yeah, I've been digging Batman 145. Let me know what you guys think about Batman in general. What do you think about Chip's run so far? Let me know down below. All right, so if you're not really into the current Batman stuff, you have Batman First Night, issue number 1, Black Label. So we get that cool exercise format, and we get it from Dan Jurgens, Mike Perkins, and Mike Spicer. So if you want a Depression era Batman, kind of like a Batman year 1 or year 2, again, set in the Depression era, coming out of the World Wars, and you want to see what that kind of a character looks like in that setting, man, this is the book for you. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous artwork and coloring and lettering inside this book. Truly a detective story. So if you like a Batman who's more of a detective, right? Instead of this big crime fighter that just has an answer to everything, someone who's a little bit more vulnerable, has limitations, not only in his own abilities, but like in the technology and the things around him. And you like somebody who's dusting for fingerprints and checking out crime scenes, but also beating some bad guys up. This is definitely the book for you. I had a great time reading this one. First Night, great book number 1, I think. DC Black Label killing it with this one. This one was not even really on my radar. I remember seeing it for FOC and I didn't really push for it. And when it finally came to the shop, my shop owner was like, you got to read this one. And I'm so glad that he hooked me up with this. I thought it was great. So definitely check out this one right here if you haven't yet. Batman First Night, definitely a must read. All right, we have Robert Kirkman on Void Rivals issue number 7. I will say that Void Rivals, in my opinion, is the weakest, maybe the weakest so far of the Energon Universe books. It was the book that put us onto this path to begin with, and so I'm really sad to say that. I will say that the action's kicking it up in here, and I think my rationale for that logic, though, is all these are new characters, and it just doesn't feel as exciting as Transformers number 1. It didn't feel as exciting as Cobra Commander number 1. Interesting things happening, a lot of Easter eggs throughout this entire thing, but I need these characters to really shine. I need these characters to be characters I really care about and really are championing to be successful in whatever mission they have. And I think we're heading in that direction. I think it's going to take some more time. This is going to be the long haul, I think. But Void Rivals number 7 was pretty cool because we got introduced to a new villain inside of here. I think it's Proximus, if I'm not mistaken. Really interesting setup for the villain too. He's kind of been like imprisoned for a long time in some kind of a form form, in some kind of a virtual form, but also in a physical form. And he's rebuilt like a Darth Vader kind of a character. And he's getting sent out right now to find our two heroes that have now been teaming back up, and they're going into the void, basically, into this like desolate wasteland that should kill them. But they need this reassurance that the job is done, so they get this character back in action. And it's just so cool, man. It's just so cool. I like the way the character looks. Definitely giving me some Darth Vader vibes. And yeah, I think Void Rivals is heading in a direction that's going to be more entertaining, to be honest with you. I think the little hiatus we had didn't help. And yeah, but I'm glad it's back, and I enjoyed this one a lot. What'd you guys think? Continuing Image Comics, we have Derek Kirk Kim on The Last Mermaid, issue number 1. And this one was a book that I saw on FOC, and I like the style of it. Sometimes I'm picking books based on the style of the cover, which is what covers are supposed to do. And I remember seeing some of the solicitation for it. I believe it was in previews, and all I saw was like this little axolotl dude that was just smiling at you. And I'm like, that's enough for me. I'm going to be checking this one out. We have like a mech suit in some kind of like apocalyptic land, something like that. So we're going to be checking it out. And I'm really glad I did. It's definitely a visual treat. Some of the landscapes in here, I hope I can get that whole thing in there. The landscapes are absolutely gorgeous. It's pretty light on the dialogue side, but that's fine, because basically the only two characters we have are the Last Mermaid and this axolotl that are inside of this mech suit that's filled with water, keeping them both alive. And the objective right here is to find some fresh water, change this tank out in this world that has been decimated over time, right? So this is far in the future, and that's what we're doing right now. This is a story about survival and the steps you're going to take to just make it to the next day. And there is this anxiety that they introduce inside of here, because they're just playing with this dichotomy. They're playing with this fact that she's a mermaid. She has to have fresh water and a filtration system and things like that, but she's also stranded in the desert. So it creates this anxiety for sure that you feel as the reader going through this book. And of course, it doesn't help that we're also going to lose the life of this cute little axolotl in the process if she doesn't find some kind of a answer to the dilemma that they're in right now. So really cool artwork. It really kind of speaks for itself. Again, there's not a whole lot of words because there's not enough characters for enough dialogue, but the message is certainly communicated that this is a stressful situation for sure. So I'm definitely excited to see more from this creator. Gonna be checking out number 2. I really like this one. Did you read Last Mermaid? What'd you guys think? All right, next book is from Critical Entertainment. We have Planetary Expansion, Chapter 2. So this is our onboarding to our shuttle off of Earth. We followed our main character who's got a very shady past. He's running from a lot of demons right now, and he's having all these nightmares. And he's trying to get to a part where he can get on board of this spaceship that's actually leaving Earth right now for a very long time. And there's some cool like science stuff sprinkled in here, which I think is an interesting take. He's trying to get on this ship, but this is an issue where we're really exploring the other people that are also getting on this ship too, escaping whatever they need to escape. Fame or their family, or for whatever reason they need to get off Earth. They're going on this expedition and they're kind of like saying goodbye to everybody. Really cool shot right here. Just a masterpiece in perspective. I would have loved to see some of the roughs on that one. I bet that was a really cool thing to try to figure out. But again, we're introduced to just a lot of different people, from celebrities to just random other folks, people trying to find their party members or family members, things like that. And of course, this guy's trying to sneak in right now, and there's some suspicious people that are on his tail trying to make sure that like nobody that's not supposed to be in the ship gets on this ship. Again, really cool design in the ship itself. So our boy is successful in getting to where he wants to go. And yeah, it kind of ends right there. So I can imagine that we're going to be introduced to some more characters pretty soon. We're going to get some more drama. Maybe he's going to be found and things like that. So I'm interested to see where this book goes for sure. Check out Planetary Expansion if you haven't yet, from Critical Entertainment. Let me know if you did and what you thought. All right, we have some indies to get through. So let's go to Boom Studios. Kyle Stark's On Pine and Mirmac, issue number 3. This was a great issue. I love the humor inside of this book and the relationship between these two characters that are on the front. This like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage kind of a relationship is just so charming, and I just love everything about them. They have like the ideal, friendly, cute relationship, to be honest with you. So these two characters are investigating a missing persons. They were given a lead by some bikers that they had to take care of in the bar. That lead led them to this island, this private island, where they have like all this sex trafficking thing going on, but there's also a cult element that has infiltrated like the political scene as well. And so they're trying to unpack all of that, and they actually find their way into like the next meeting of this cult, and they actually witness this ceremonial sacrifice inside this book, and they're actually caught in a pretty bad situation towards the end. So I think this story is really kind of kicking off right now. It's going to make a great collected edition read too, if you haven't been picking up the single issues so far. But Pine and Mirmac, if you like detective stories, if you like witty dialogue between characters, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. So definitely check it out. All right, so we have TMNT, The Last Ronin, number 2, Re-Evolution from co-creator of TMNT, Kevin Eastman, and we have some other folks on here too. Of course, we have Waltz in here, helping lead the way on the writing over here. So where are we with the TMNT? Of course, this is Last Ronin, so we're talking way in the future after the events of the last 2 Last Ronin issues, and so we have this new group of TMNT, of turtles that are growing up right now, being trained by Casey and April's daughter. And these turtles are just as rebellious as the turtles we know and love. And so we get to see a lot of their, sneaking out at night, doing their training, things like that. So we get our little introduction back to them. Of course, we get an origin story just in general on TMNT and the events of The Last Ronin and the history of all that stuff. And they actually do it with this duotone effect, which I think is, a cool little homage, but obviously not, like the real thing, but it puts us into that a frame of mind, right? So I think that's pretty cool. Of course, the city has gone to complete hell. Gangs are ruling it, and Casey's just trying to survive and trying to pool resources, and April's trying to build some kind of an infrastructure or safe passageway between all the different cities and things like that to trade goods and services. And there's a lot of forces up top that are just causing a problem. And so, our turtles are helping out right now, just trying to clean up the streets, trying to protect some of the vital parts of the city that are, working for the powers of good, right? And so, it was pretty interesting. I still don't have like the identity of this new turtle group in my head just yet. Like I'm going back and comparing them to the original ones. And so that might be something I just need to work through over time. And I imagine it's not just me doing that, but I think overall, I think it's cool to push this whole story into the future and just see what happens, right? I think that's a pretty bold thing to do. So TMNT, Last Ronin, number 2, Re-Evolution. I think it's worth picking up. If you read it, let me know what you thought. All right, so we have Matt Kindt on sub-genre issue number 4 from Dark Horse Comics. So I think this is the issue where we're starting to put the pieces together. Now, I will say, if you picked up this cover in particular, read all this text, because what I did was, I've been confused this entire time, because the story could have went in a couple different places with how it's been structured so far and what information has been revealed to us so far. But the cover of this one provides a lot of context on what the hell is actually going on in here. There's still some questions I have, obviously, and I've been talking to Eric in the back chat about what is actually going on inside this book. So what I do know is, I do know that our character that we're following right here is not necessarily who we think he is. He's in a lot of different situations right now. In the beginning, he was in the far future with all these gadgets and things like that. He was a detective investigating this murder, questioning some different people. There was a moment where he met a cult-like structure who maybe introduced the idea that he's not exactly who he thinks he is, and all of a sudden he became a Conan type of a character, but maybe it was only in his eyes. Maybe he was able to tap into a different persona, perhaps a story or a character that he developed in his past, and he was living out that part of his life in that moment in front of those other people. And so now we're in a situation in issue number 4 where potentially he's hunting himself down, or a persona that he held once that he just can't remember switching into. Think like Moon Knight, something like that. I think that's the direction we're headed right here, because there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of inner dialogue inside this book that is pointing us in a direction that would suggest that he's hunting himself down, but he's able to tap into these different personas from these different time periods. And so that's where we are right now. Still a lot to unpack. This is a pretty complex story. In the beginning, I was really confused about where we could be going, but I think I'm starting to understand what's happening in here. It's going to take another issue or 2 really to flush things out, and I think we're going to get some more answers in the next one. But this is a crazy book. I'd love to discuss this one down in the chats with you guys. Let me know if you're reading it, and if you have any other theories about where the hell this book is even going. I'd love to see them down below. All right, this last book came out a few weeks ago, but it's a book that I've been calling one of my favorite books of all time, and it's going to be wrapping up very soon. I wanted to add it as an honorable mention. So we have Traveling to Mars from Mark Russell, issue number 10. This story in general, I think I described it online as inspirational melancholy, because we're following this guy that we shouldn't like. He's not somebody that is like a stand-up person, especially after reading this issue in particular. He made some decisions with his then wife that would really kind of determine the path of her entire life going forward, and his in a way. And it's just one of a series of decisions or whatever that he made throughout his younger life that led him to a situation where, to the general public, he might be looked at as like a piece of crap. He's a terminally ill person that has been sent by a big corporation to Mars to harvest or claim whatever resources they found there, because the Earth as it is inside this book, is in its last days, and they're desperately wanting some kind of a solution. And they think that solution might be on Mars. And so they sent him off to claim that area. He is terminal, so this is a one-way trip. So the entire time we've been going on this trip, he's been reflecting on all the decisions and different parts of his life and relationships and whatnot. And there's always some kind of a core message that he's able to extract from that or reflect upon that is also seen in the current day while he's in space heading towards Mars. And the way that Mark Russell is able to marry those two concepts is absolutely perfect and brilliant. The execution is 100%. So I would love to pick that guy's brain one time and just kind of think, like, how do you even make those kinds of connections? It's an amazing piece of storytelling for sure. This particular issue is very, very heart-wrenching because it focuses on the relationship with his ex-wife and what exactly went wrong, and we get a little bit of closure as well. So I'm not going to give you the details of that in case you've been reading this book, but I'm telling you right now, this is one of the best comics that I've ever read, to be honest with you, as a series. So you definitely need to check out Traveling to Mars, in my opinion. And I think it wraps up in issue number 11, which comes out next month, or maybe at the end of this month. I'm not entirely sure. We're going to be checking it out, though. One of the best comics. I'm saying it over and over again, but if you have not been reading this one, highly, highly recommended. But guys, that will do it for me. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below what you read and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the comments.